All right, it's 1 minute past, so let's start. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar titled How to Improve the Digitalization of B2C Invoice Delivery and Boost Payments. Hope you will enjoy this session with us. And for the next 30 minutes, we will discuss common challenges in invoice distribution, why companies should be aware of these challenges, and we, of course, lay out practical solutions and best practices. And this webinar will be recorded and accessible to everyone after the webinar. And I would also like to point out that you can ask questions in the chat, and we will address those questions at the end of the webinar. But before we introduce the agenda, we would like to quickly introduce our speakers for today. So I'll go first. My name is Roope Ilmola, and I'm working as a sales manager at Tietoevry, focusing on B2C invoice distribution services. And I'm based in Helsinki, Finland. And I have two of my colleagues here with me, Karin and Jyrki. So can you please introduce yourselves too?
Yes, definitely. Could you change the slide, please, Roope? So my name is Karin Ramsin. I work in product management, predominantly with pre-sales activities, and have a lot of focus on customer experience. So very happy to meet you guys.
And hello, my name is Jyrki Poteri, and I'm working in sales for B2B integration, including B2C invoice delivery. And I cover all B2B integration as well, so like bank connections, supply chain messages, authorities, and so forth. Very nice to have you here. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So here's our detailed agenda for this webinar. So firstly, I'll discuss some common challenges in B2C invoice distribution and payments, and walk you through some best practices and solutions to those challenges. Then secondly, Karin will tell you more about our live invoice solution. And after that, Jyrki will touch upon request to pay developments. And lastly, we will have some time for your questions. But before we dive into the topic, let's have a quick poll. So you can answer by clicking one of the options appearing on the screen soon. So we would like to know which of the following is the biggest challenge for your company, and you can select one answer only. So 1, reducing paper invoices, having an easy view of customer behavior data, improving customer self-service, offering a seamless payment and checkout experience, retaining customers, or enabling customer dialogue. And I'll give you a moment to answer. All right, and I think we will close the poll now. So we have received your answers. Thanks a lot for your input, and we can see that reducing paper invoices has received the most votes. So that's the biggest challenge based on your input, and this is really interesting, and your feedback is really valuable to us, and we will continue to discuss this challenge more and its implications and practical solutions to it as well. So thanks for your input. But let's move to the next section. So here I would like to discuss some common challenges companies are facing in B2C invoice distribution and payments, and why those challenges are relevant. So meaning that why they should not be overlooked and why they definitely should be solved. So firstly, many companies are still relying a lot on paper-based communication. It's very common for companies to struggle with how to activate digital channels to reduce paper invoices. And this traditional way of distributing invoices involves printing, stuffing envelopes, mailing them. So it's not only time-consuming, but also costly. And also paper invoices are often lost or delayed in transit, which causes inconvenience for both the sender and the consumer. And everyone knows that being present in digital channels is important, and the challenge is not to make companies understand this, but rather companies are struggling with how to activate digital channels. So the emphasis is on the how. So how to move from paper to digital, taking into account the preferences of each customer. And why this is relevant, here we have a company perspective. So moving from paper to digital increases cost efficiency. So digital invoices are, as we know, considerably less costly to deliver, even up to 10 times cheaper. And digital invoices also decrease payment errors caused by the customer. Besides, of course, companies can reduce their environmental footprint, helping them to achieve their sustainability targets. And in addition, digital invoices allow companies to collect insights on customer behavior and preferences. So compared to paper-based invoicing doesn't allow businesses to track the customer journey or collect data on it. Then a second common challenge for companies now from a consumer perspective is how to provide a seamless customer journey from receiving an invoice to paying it. So nowadays, customers expect a simple, intuitive, and hassle-free billing experience. And an example of a broken customer journey is a PDF invoice sent to consumers by email, or a company portal allowing consumers to view invoices but not pay them. So these examples don't create a good payment experience for the consumer. And why this challenge is relevant? Well, of course, to be able to provide an exceptional customer experience and retain customers is important. And we know that in times of economic downturn or recession that we're currently living in, they are a time of increased customer churn as customers are aggressively looking for the best value alternative. And that's why winning companies need to invest in superior customer engagement. And then lastly, of course, by making the payment experience smooth for the consumer, this contributes to an improved cash flow. Then lastly, and this is not maybe a challenge, but something companies should realize and remember. So how to maximize the communication potential of invoices. To many companies, invoices are a highly important communication medium. And to some companies, it's even the only channel through which they are actively in contact with their customers on a monthly basis. So here we want to highlight that invoice can be much more than just a document. So these are some of the most important challenges for companies in invoice distribution that need companies' focus. And here we have an example of how disruptions in the market can affect invoice distribution and why a multi-channel delivery approach is important. So this spring, we faced strikes in Finland that caused delays in physical mail delivery, including invoices and other communication. And these disruptions are, of course, costly for companies as they increase contacts to customer service, and they're unpleasant for customers as they don't receive information on time. And this example just underlies two facts. So moving to digital is important to increase the speed of delivery and reduce risks related to post-delivery. And secondly, companies must be able to reach customers in the digital channel they prefer. So being able to reach customers in several digital channels is important. Then moving to best practices. So how can companies then tackle these challenges we laid out, and what are some best practices? So how to activate digital channels to reduce paper. In Finland, some companies can utilize this receiver proposal message to drive e-invoice adoption among consumers. So this requires that the company has consumer's personal identification number. So how it works is that the invoice issuer may use this receiver proposal message in order to obtain the customer's e-invoice address. The invoice issuer creates this receiver proposal message for the customer, who then sees the proposal and approves it in their online bank. And after this approval, the invoice issuer gets the customer's e-invoice address via the message. Then, of course, companies should utilize digital delivery channels such as digital mailboxes like Kibra or Suomi.fi messages, etc. So, customers are increasingly adopting these kind of digital mailboxes. and these most of these mailboxes allow payments too. Then lastly, automated channel orchestration is important so that documents are delivered in the channel, digital or physical, preferred by the customer. So if customer is not present in one digital channel, the other digital channels can be checked before physical mail is delivered. Then going to the second challenge, so how to provide a seamless customer journey from receiving an invoice to paying it. An important part of this is that companies enable consumers to receive and pay their invoices in the same channel. So for example, if consumers can view invoices on a company portal, they would probably also want to have the possibility to pay them there. And secondly, part of good customer service is reminding customers about unpaid invoices. So companies can provide digital reminders with the possibility to pay directly. So this is related to the first point. So if you send out a reminder, don't make the consumer to pay the invoice you reminded about in a different channel. Then lastly, improving self-service. So companies can promote frequently asked questions on the invoices and allow customers an easy view of their data, for example, invoice specification or old invoices. Then lastly, the challenge of how to maximize the communication potential of invoices. As I mentioned, invoice can be much more than just a document. So it can be used to drive upsells. So customers can receive targeted offers, personalized communication on invoices, and companies can also use invoices to enable two-way communication. So companies can collect customer feedback to understand their needs better. So here I laid out some solutions on a high level and best practices, but how can companies then actually put all this into practice? Karin, could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Roppe. So basically, what all the things that Roppe talked about is that all the communications efforts that we do, they are building the brand. It's building how our customers perceives the company and its product. And how do we want them to perceive it then? Well, of course, we need to ensure the customer engagement because it's more important than ever since during this global economic downturn, we need to continuously build on this engagement and ensure that we don't get cancellations of these subscription services. And we have seen a lot of that because we due to the recession, there is a lot of consumer going through all of their subscription services and wondering how they should handle this. Lowering the cost is, of course, a main thing, but it's not the only reason for changing supplier. There are a lot of other parameters that are valid too, such as feeling important to the supplier, having the possibility of getting a better overview and do several errands at one time, self-service, as Roppe talked about, and also to be able to swiftly choose the payment method and get other types of information at the same time. So what are the tips then? Talking to the customers directly and empathetically and where they want to engage, that is a very good tip, and that is something that Roppe talked about. Also, personalize the content so it feels relevant and valid to the recipients, and utilize the data you have about your customers to become even more good at this. And the third one is make your business indispensable to your customer by providing both perceived and real value. And how are you going to do that then? There are a lot of things that is possible to do, but we have been in this business for a really long time, distributing communication on our customers' behalf. And we have seen the shift towards another way of communicating, having the possibility of having a dialogue, being more interactive. And I will show you a really short video about this. Yes. So basically, Live Invoice is a personalized landing page in HTML5 format, which enables you to have this dialogue with the customer. While you, for example, send out an invoice, the end customer can choose to do other things at the same time. You can add targeted material and video content, and you can also ensure that when the customer decides to pay the invoice, they can choose the payment method they prefer and do it directly. That works especially good, for example, for reminders when you just want to get rid of them really fast and you just choose the payment method, pay it, and it's done. Since we are all focusing on customer experience, you can also ask them within this send out to rate your experience, for example, with 1 to 5 stars, and then you can continuously update the customer experience over time, making it better and better, listening to your customers. So the live invoice send out can be distributed via email, SMS, via company-specific app or My Pages. So you get an improved reach. And you can also use live invoice for additional information, like, for example, if the customer prefers to pay their invoice via the internet bank, you can send out a non-payable live invoice communication and give the customers the opportunity to interact with you without changing their preferred way of paying the invoice. So there is a lot of options to utilize this service. And of course, it is connected to our multi-channel service, which means that all of these channels are available. So let's say we have an email that bounces. This message would automatically then go further down the hierarchy of channels. So the fallback is automated. And take into account that the right channel can differ from recipient to recipient, and it can also vary over time. So it's important for the consumers to be able to choose channel preference, and they might also choose it depending on the content of the communication itself. So targeted relevant communication will give you a better notice rate as well as response rate. Have a clear message, ensure that your recipients understand directly who you are and what you want. The intuitive user experience and clear call to action will give this impactful communication and build the brand. So it should be easy to become a customer, and it should be easy to stay a customer for a long time. In addition, just to ensure that you have all the information related to this, we have the live invoice dashboard. And that is for our customer. It's not for the consumers, it's for you. It's basically a dashboard with information that you can utilize to further improve the experience over time. So you can see what type of documents you have sent, the number that is sent out, and how they are distributed. You could see if the customers opened your sendouts or downloaded. And you can also connect this dashboard to payment status, so you know how many have paid and how much is outstanding. And also how many reminders have we sent out. I think this part is the most important one, because here you have the user behavior. And you can see in this top part the timing, like when did your consumers read your sendouts and how much time did they spend on it? What devices did they use? Are there many that utilize the mobile phone, or are they still on the computer? And basically that is also good information, so you can further improve the experience over time. And from a marketing perspective, you can see how, if you add links to additional pages, what pages did the consumers click on? What was most interesting to them? Since Live Invoice also supports chat and frequently asked questions, you can help out decreasing the pressure on customer service. And in this view, you can see what the consumers, what type of frequently asked question did they click the most. Maybe you need to add some questions to ensure that they get their answer by self-service instead of calling. And you can see if they look at historical invoices and which type of payment they have chosen to pay the invoice with. And of course, we will add to this view as we further develop this product. But now you can export this data also to Excel to put it up in whichever way you prefer to do the analytics. So hopefully you will find this valuable and something that is aiding you to do this continuous improvement of the customer's experience over time, because that is what we all are after. Jyrki, request to pay, that is interesting.
Thank you, Karin. So request to pay is something you may have heard already, and the question is that how much will it challenge Invoice in the future? If thinking about kind of current situation, there are invoices are sent, and everything is worked in a kind of batch mode. So batch payment will come, and it's a matter of days. It's not a kind of real-time process. What is now coming is this request to pay, and banking and financial industry is driving it. And the difference there is that it supports both instant payment and due date payment. So basically it's possible to use that for in-store payments, for instance, and all situations where instant payment is needed. And then the good news is that when sending invoices currently in multi-channel, we can add this request to pay as a new channel and convert as needed to request to pay format. So basically, one could use for invoice payment this request to pay without any changes at your end. Then how does it work? It's so that there is kind of three differences with invoice. There are kind of confirm and approve messages from the payer and the real-time payment option. So when having these two parties, there is someone delivering services or goods and then the customer. When sending this request to pay, it's an API request, real-time request, and one gets real-time response as well if this request has reached the receiver. So a receiver can access it, and that comes directly. Then later on there comes this approve message, which tells that if this receiver has intention to pay on due date, and in case the receiver is paying immediately, it is instant payment, then those are kind of happening, those approval and payment at the same time. Then payment is happening using current practices, like there is SEPA credit transfer for batch payments and due date payments, and then SEPA credit transfer instant for instant payments. If you want to know more about this, there is ongoing program called Veturi, where Tietoevry is driving that, and that includes real-time bill payment proof of value. It's done together with Visa, who is having its request to pay platform in production in UK. There will be information sessions on actually first tomorrow, 16th, 25th, and if you would like to know more about this request to pay and how does it really work, and what kind of issues are involved in that, you are welcome to participate and kindly contact us, and we can provide you invitations to you for these events and getting this everything kind of explained. But that's about request to pay. Interesting new opportunity. So back to you, Roope.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jyrki. Very interesting. I can see we have only 4 minutes left, and we have now reached the end of the webinar, but we would now have time for your questions. So let me see if we have any questions in the chat. Not that I see, but maybe I can pose a question that we have been asked that might be interesting to you in the audience as well. So Jyrki, regarding the request to pay, should we wait for that rather than look into some other digital channels now, as you mentioned that it will to some extent challenge the traditional invoice?
Yeah, no one knows yet that how much or how soon request to pay will take over. But as I mentioned earlier, when we have this multi-channel approach and there are several channels to deliver those invoices, we have full capabilities to convert from existing invoice formats to this PAIN 13 format, what request to pay is using. So it is just one additional channel and no changes are needed for invoice issuers. They can send all their invoices to us like earlier. So we are fully ready for request to pay.
Yeah, thanks. Makes sense. I can see we don't have any other questions, so maybe I can take the opportunity to ask one more question from Karin. So you presented the live invoice and multi-channel. So in which countries can we provide this service, and in which countries can we support our customers to automate and orchestrate the channels?
We have a full-blown Nordic offer, but we have also followed our customers into Europe. So we are delivering these type of services in many countries all over Europe as well. And for live invoice, of course, we can support all of Europe and beyond, to be honest.
Yeah, great. So in a way, we can follow our customers where they are going. Okay, but I don't see any questions in the chat, so we could wrap up then. So we would like to thank you all for participating, and please contact one of us if you're interested in discussing more or if you have any questions, and we'll send the webinar material to you after this webinar. And yeah, we are happy to help if you have any questions. So thanks and have a good day.
So there was one question in chat, if you can notice. So kindly send to me, Jyrki, an email, and I will kind of fix invitation to this request to pay seminars.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thanks for noticing. I was almost closing the webinar, but yeah, we'll definitely do that.
So Tommy, I can send you those invitations when, if you have interest, you can participate.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't have any other questions. So let me thank you one more time, and please contact us if you have any more questions or requests. We're happy to help. So thanks for joining and have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.